something I already know.
Happy New Year, YouTube, and what's up? It's Classic 1333 coming to you live. Coming to you with the Raw review of January 4th, 2010. Now, I kind of wanted to do a TNA Impact review instead of the Raw review, but kind of the two things that persuaded my decision to watch Raw over TNA was because, number one, I'm going to a funeral tomorrow morning kind of early, so hopefully I'll get some sleep tonight. So Raw was like 2 hours versus Impact being 3 hours, so... And plus, I was a little bit interested, too, in the Bret Hart return being the guest host and all that. So I made the decision to go with Raw versus Impact. But hopefully, I have a gut feeling Impact was probably better than this Raw was. This Raw was alright, but some of it was good, but some of it was, too short, for my opinion. So the show starts off with the Bret Hart promo. As he said classically, hell froze over. Apparently it did, because he came back after a 12-year absence. So now, I didn't wear, my sunglasses to represent Bret Hart, but ironically, my pen says the exec on there, which might be abbreviated for excellence of execution, kind of. That's probably not what the pen means, but you guys know my drift. So anyway, Bret Hart comes out, and basically, he talks about, his career in WWE a little bit. Then he calls out Shawn Michaels, wants to, get the whole Montreal thing over with, wants closure with it, blah, blah, blah. So, he calls out Michaels and, says that he wants to just have a truce. And Michaels counters with saying, Bret deserved everything that he got and blah, blah, blah. But then Michaels said he was a changed man. And then Michaels said that he respected Bret, but he felt Bret never respected him so much. And, at times they despise each other, blah, blah, blah. But then Bret said, or Shawn said that, he had found, some respect for Bret, when they had that Iron Man match, which, nobody thought was going to be big back in the day, blah, blah, blah. So eventually, Bret, says, let's have a truce and forget about it and be friends. And then he offers his hand, and then Michaels accepts it, and then they have their little truce. And then what was kind of interesting was... after they shook hands, they were both kind of standing, to the side a little bit, kind of like we were thinking Shawn was going to sweet chin music Bret, or Bret might have, sucker punched Shawn or something, but instead of that, they just wound up hugging each other again. So that was their little 12-year reunion thing, so to speak, with them. They probably still hate each other's guts backstage, I'd imagine, but yeah. And then Bret called out McMahon, but McMahon didn't come out, and then they went to a commercial break right away, so that was kind of weird. They come back from the commercial break, and then Michael Cole Jr., as Cousin Cheeto calls him. What is that dude's name? Josh Matthews? Yeah. Basically, he, is in front of McMahon's door, and then McMahon walks by, and he's like, "What are you doing in front of my door?" And then I keep wanting to call him Grisham. Matthews is like, "Well, didn't you hear that Bret called you out?" And then McMahon's like, I was in a meeting, and no one calls me out, I call people out. And then he says, "I'll call out Bret when I want to, blah, blah, blah." So, that's kind of that. Then we have, we go back to ringside, and the commentator said something about Melina had, got a torn ACL at a live event or something. So, she's dropping the Divas title, and they're having, an 8-diva tournament to figure out who the new champion's going to be for it. So... this gets us to our first matchup, which is a Divas matchup between Maryse and Brie Bella. And for the Divas matchup, I'm going to wear my Dream Girls hat just to talk about it. So, make it special, I guess, because this match was pretty unspecial. Basically, it was like a 2.5-minute matchup. These two didn't really work that well together at all. The only couple nice things in the matchup was Brie hit a drop kick on Maryse. And then there was a decent spot where I think Brie knocked Maryse off the apron, she hit the announcer's table or something. And then the finish was the Bellas tried their little switcheroo thing, and Maryse saw that they did that. So when she picked up the other Bella, Nikki Bella, she kicked her and just hit a DDT, but it wasn't her stronger looking DDT. It was just a real simple DDT, and she won the matchup. So this match was pretty crummy. And during that time, somewhere like Michael Cole gave his usual line, "The referee's view was obstructed." You know, retarded lines. I don't know why he says that, but oh well. Nobody cares about Michael Cole.
Nobody cares about Michael Cole! Nobody cares about Michael Cole!
So, Maryse is your winner. She advances on to this tournament. We don't know who else is in this tournament because they didn't say it. So, when Maryse was going to leave the ring, like, The Miz came out to new theme music. His new music's okay, but I kind of liked his old music better. Well, I guess since I'm done talking about the Divas, the hat comes off. Basically, like, you know, Miz, like, said something about how Maryse said this was going to be, you know, the year of 2010 was going to be her year, and he was like, "You're wrong, because this is going to be my year, because I'm the Miz, and I'm awesome." And he came out to do commentary for the next match, was a Fatal 4-Way match for the #1 contendership for the U.S. title. And interesting thing during that match was Miz said something about how, like, you know, the fans tune into Raw just to see him wrestle and stuff. Well, I'm sure a lot of people won't agree with that. I will, because I like the Miz. He is one of the reasons I watch the show. So... so we had the #1 contenders match for the U.S. title. We had 7-Up, good stuff. Anybody have one of those T-shirts that says like "Make 7 Up yours" or something? Those were cool shirts. Anyway, let's go on the matchup. They had it was Carlito versus Jumpin' Jack Swagger versus the world's largest Kool-Aid Man, Mark Henry, and MVP. Representing Porter Hospital, and yeah, Porter Memorial Hospital. That's a hospital in Valparaiso, Indiana. This matchup was too short. Like, I'm sure the matchup was probably like long, like for the audience that was there, but like for us, like that watch it on TV, it was like 4 minutes. So it was kind of like another short, pointless match, kind of. Couple like kind of cool things in the matchup was like Mark Henry picked up Carlito and kind of used him as like a battering ram to like hit Swagger with at one point. That was kind of cool. And then it was kind of weird was he had I think it was Carlito like up like in a torture rack type move, but he was holding him like frontwards. It wasn't like he was like holding him like, you know, by his back and doing it. He was holding him frontwards and doing it. It was kind of weird. He was doing that for like a couple minutes, and then MVP wound up getting a kick on Henry and knocked him down, and then knocked him out of the ring. And then he hit a playmaker on Swagger and got the pinfall, so MVP's the #1 contender for the U.S. title. So, too short of a matchup for us on watching on TV, but for people there, it might have been okay. Backstage, we got Jericho and Big Show talking, and then, you know, talking about how, like, if they don't win, you know, Jericho's going to be done with Raw yet again, I think for, like, the 3rd time. First time, Bischoff had him kicked off Raw, I think. Second time, it was actually their first rematch they had for the tag titles. You know, he was supposed to be off Raw then, but he kept showing up or whatever. And so, yeah, so this would be the 3rd time if he loses. So we'll talk about that in a little bit later. Says he's got a plan to, you know, ensure victory tonight. So he goes to Bret Hart and basically wants Bret Hart to be the special ref so he can screw Shawn Michaels out of it because, you know, he feels that, you know, Bret still hates Shawn Michaels, which backstage he probably really does. And Bret says no, he wants closure. He doesn't want to be a hypocrite like Jericho. I was going to say a hippo. No, he's not a hippo.